Hey there, welcome to FiddleHed Fiddle Lessons. Here's a lesson for fiddlers who want to learn mandolin. So you may find that it's not as hard as you think because they both have the same strings. They both have G, D, A, E. Except on the mandolin, the strings are doubled. So all the left hand finger patterns are the same, which means that you can play all the tunes you know on fiddle on mandolin. When I first picked up a mandolin, I was amazed to learn that everything I knew on violin, I could just start kind of plucking on the mandolin. Whiskey Before Breakfast. Even classical tunes. All right, so there's three big skills you'll need to know to go from fiddle to mandolin, and I'll show them to you in this lesson. They are picking, using the pick, strumming, which is playing multiple strings at once, brushing motion. The third thing is chords and chord progressions, which follow from that. The big takeaway that I want you to learn from this lesson is that you can start practicing mandolin skills on the fiddle right now. So pick up your fiddle and let's get started. So take your fiddle and hold it in mandolin position. I like to rest my fingers at the top of the fiddle like this, and then we're going to practice plucking with the side of the thumb. Just do it on open strings a little bit. Just mess around. Just play with it. Don't even do anything. Just see what comes up. Next, let's do a very simple song. Ideally something you already know really well. Just try to pluck it with your thumb. Right now I'll do O Susanna in G major starting on open G. Okay, so practicing with thumb plucking will pave the way for you to pick on the fiddle and eventually on the mandolin. It gets you in that mindset. Next, let's do thumb strumming. So this gets you in the mindset for strumming with a pick. We're going to do it with our thumb just on open strings. You can also go up strokes using the nail, down strokes, the side of the thumb. Think of it as a brushing motion. You're just brushing, just lightly brushing. The equivalent on fiddle to this is down bows, or like down strokes, and up bows are like up strokes on picking, all right? So after you've done that a little bit, you can practice all down strokes, you can practice all up strokes, and this will be a theme throughout this lesson. We're separating out these fine-grained skills. Then you can practice alternating between the two. Down, up, down, up, down, up, and then simple rhythms like a boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck. Kind of play the lower strings, and then strum up with the thumb. You can also do rhythms that you know. So I teach a lot of fiddle rhythms, basic rhythms like hoedown or taters, which is long, short, short. And I do it down, down, up, down, down, up. Or tucka, tucka, tucka. That works kind of nicely with all down strokes. All right. So cool. Why don't you pause and practice that just a teeny bit. Awesome. Now let's learn some chords. Yes! So we're going to learn some super simple mandolin chords. There's tons of mandolin chord charts available in an instant search on the internet, just so you know. But today we're going to learn a simple G major chord. And so we'll just take it note by note. Open G, open D, A1, E low 2. Play them as separate notes. This is known as an arpeggio, but it's also a great way to practice any new chord you learn. Break it into single notes, because sometimes you'll find that it helps you figure out technical problems. If you set like you're playing the whole chord and it sounds off, if you split it into single notes, you'll be able to find the one note. Usually it's a finger touching an open string that's off. Okay, and then once you feel comfortable with that, then use the thumb strumming that you just practiced. Let's do it real slow. That's it. You could already almost play some songs with this, like twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. All right, now you can try doing upstrokes. Remember that we constantly separate our skills, improve each skill, and then integrate them together. We go down, up, down, up, down, up. And then you can start to play with the rhythms, like boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck. Or hoedown, which was long, short, short, long, short, short. There's different ways to do it. Down, down, up, down, down, up, down. It's pretty good. So here's a cool connection between this chord and learning double stop chords with the bow. So I teach this a lot in my FiddleHed course, how to play different two-note chords. But having this full mandolin chord really gives you insight into why those chords work. So if we keep that same shape, finger shape, go to the fiddle, I can play open G and D, or open D and A1, or A1 and E2, low 2. And I haven't even moved my fingers. I go back and hear the big picture with the full chord. Isn't that cool? Okay, now let's just learn another chord. So you've done G major. There's a super easy chord you can learn next, which is C major. And all we do is move the fingers across the strings. So instead of playing A1 and E low 2, I'm going to play D1 and A low 2. Same finger shape though as I move. So after a while, it's a pretty easy transition, you'll see. And then just play all 4 strings. So stay with that chord for a little bit, and remember to practice single notes. Because I missed that open E because my second finger index finger, middle finger is touching the E. Now I can clear it, kind of come down more on the fingertips. All right, so I'm now going to give you the ultimate key for learning and practicing chord progressions. Start by giving yourself a long transition time between each chord. So maybe a whole note or even longer. So let's do whole notes. So starting on C, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then during that count, I'm finding the next chord, which is G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. You may need more time, but eventually that transition time will get faster for you. So now let's try half notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a bit harder. It'll take you a little longer to get there, but eventually you can get there. And here's another tip. Once you get the idea of what you're doing, you could practice the motion without even strumming the chord. Do this while you're watching Netflix at night. Just sit there and practice moving your chords. No fiddle teacher is going to tell you that. I'm probably going to get banned from the National Brotherhood and Sisterhood of Fiddle Players, but I think it's a really useful tip, so I'm going to let it stand, okay? All right, now you're ready to play a song. Woohoo! Let's return to Oh Susanna. We're basically just going to go from C to G. Well, I'm finding that first note, so I'm ready to go before I start. Here we go. Well, I come from Alabama with the banjo on my switch to G, knee, back to C. I'm going to Louisiana, Susanna, switch to G, 4-2, back to C, C. I'll do it now with more flow. Well, I come from Alabama with a banjo on my knee at a rhythm, and I'm going to Louisiana, Susanna, 4-2-C. So now you have the basic idea of how to learn chords. You could learn any chord progression, no matter how complex. And songs will get more complex, have more different parts. But you now have the basic skill with this process to learn any chord progression. Isn't that cool? And not only that, if you ever learn or are learning guitar or piano or other chordal instruments, the same principle of practicing those chord transitions will help you with that too. All right, so the next thing we're going to learn is how to use a pick. This moves us even closer to playing mandolin. So you'll hold it between the thumb and the index finger like that. You can kind of practice air picking a little bit. And then we're going to simply start by doing picking on the D string. Notice how the sound is different between picking with the thumb and the pick. Plucking with the thumb and the pick. I'll let you play around with that on your own. By the way, if you don't have a pick right now, just cut up a credit card to make them. They're a little thick, but they work. And you don't need that credit card anyway. You're just buying stuff you just should be playing music. Don't be spending your time buying stuff. Let's play more music. Okay, so you can do downstrokes. We're basically going to do a similar practice flow that we did with the thumb. Or you can do all upstrokes. You can do alternate. Eventually you can do alternate from string to string, string crossing. You may want to start with the string crossing. I think just downstrokes is easier. Then do upstrokes. That's all upstrokes. And then alternate down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And eventually you could add more robust patterns like rhythms, like hoedown. I teach all these patterns in the FiddleHed course, and you could also do patterns like paradiddle. Finally, you could apply these patterns across all the strings. Not only does picking help you to learn the mandolin, but you're able to do some really cool sounds that just wouldn't be possible on mandolin, like bluesy slides. Isn't that cool? All right, so the last thing we'll do with the fiddle to prepare for playing mandolin is just strumming. Use all the same practices we did with thumb strumming, but now use the pick. Well, I come from Alabama with the banjo on my knee. And now we can apply everything we've learned to the mandolin. So by the time you've done all this, hopefully a mandolin will show up in a brown box on your doorstep or underneath the Christmas tree. But even if it doesn't, you can still do all these practices on your fiddle and have a good time and play some cool stuff using a pick. So let's just try to put it all together. I'm going to play Oh Susanna, and I might try to come up with a little instrumental part for the chorus. So that's another whole subject that we can get to, and I'll teach in another lesson, is how to make breaks for parts. And a very simple way to do that is to just build them from the melody. Learn the melody of the song really well, and then use that as a jumping off point. So, well, I come from Alabama with the banjo on my knee. I'm going to Louisiana, Susanna, for to see. Of course, there's tons more you could learn about mandolin that it's not covered in this introductory lesson. I'm kind of a hack, but I love mandolin so much and I want to share it with people, even though I'm not a quote-unquote expert. But some things you can do that you may have heard in recordings, so you can do tremolo. And you can also do very cool things where you blend chords with melody. So take a tune like Carry Polka. We can blend in the G chord. And then C, D. So something to look forward to. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope you get something out of it. Whether or not you even decide to play mandolin, I hope that it will enrich your fiddle playing. And remember that you can use mandolin chords to help you figure out double stop chords, and you can learn about strumming to help you learn backup and get a feel for backup. So if this lesson was helpful to you, just let me know. Send me a comment or a message or an email or a telegram, preferably a singing telegram. And thank you for watching. Go to FiddleHed.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the video. Excellent! And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.